Hi everyone, I'm Arlene. We are a group of former Technovation girls participants, and today we want to share with you how you can implement APIs in your app using MIT App Inventor.
First, you may be wondering what's an API? Well, API stands for Application Programming Interface. In this sense, the word application refers to any software with a testing function. The interface can be thought of as a service contract between two applications. This contract defines how they communicate with each other through requests and responses. Thus, APIs allow applications to access features or data by acting as a software intermediary that allows two applications to talk to each other. For example, the Meteorology Institute software set contains daily weather data. The weather app on your phone talks to the system through the APIs and shows you the daily weather updates on your phone.
Our app called We Heroes. We Heroes is an app to promote education and awareness regarding the impacts of climate change of biodiversity, using the information from the International Union for Conservation of Nature Red List. In our app, we implement a login and news feed from IUCN and interactive map for users to learn about endangered species in different areas, and an interactive thermometer to know the level of danger of the different species, and a real-time climate clock. In this tutorial, we will show you how to implement the APIs we use to interactive map.
First things first, you need to check the documentation for the APIs. There, you will find the general information, the list of APIs at your disposal, and even some examples of the responses. Here, we show you the documentation from the IUCN Red List API. For this screen, we will use the Regional Assessment for the Species Count API. As you can see, the blue line is a generic form of how we can call this API. The first part, API B3, is common for all the Red List APIs. Species Count stands for this exact API. Region is for Regional Assessment. And Region Identifier is a section we will replace with the Region Identifier we will find on the Regions List APIs. On the example from the Regions List API, we have a list of all regions with their name and their identifiers. As you can see, if we wanted to show the European count, we must replace the text Region Identifier on the previous API with the word Europe all in lowercase. Finally, the API token is an alphanumeric set of characters that serves as a kind of password to access the API. Many APIs have free tokens, also known as API keys, that have a limited number of requests, which you can use for your Technovation app prototype. In fact, most APIs require that you sign up for a key or token, and even some of them cost money. But don't worry. There are many APIs that have a test key that you can use without trouble. In this API, which is the European Regional Assessment for Species Count, we get a list of keys and values in curly brackets, which corresponds to a dictionary. Dictionaries are a type of data structure used to store data values in key-value pairs. A dictionary is a collection of these pairs, where we need the data using the count key. In this sense, count is the key, and 16226 is the value. Thus, we can say that in Europe, there are 16,226 endangered species, subspecies, and subpopulations.
Basically, what we want to do in this screen is that when you click on the button of the region, the app may display the corresponding count to threatened species, and zoom in on the app in the region. We will just build the float for the Europe button as the other ones use the same procedures, just assigning a different region name. We have dislodged, in general terms, we have fixed zero, the map component with circle of maker for each of the regions, and right with the buttons for each region and a horizontal arrangement with a label in which we will display the information and the non-visible component. For calling the API, the web component found out in the connectivity section.
To use APIs in App Inventor, 3 main steps are required. Set your parameters, build procedures for the requests, and retrieve and display the response. To build the API URL, we use 3 procedures. Procedures are blocks of organized reusable code that is used to perform a single related action. First, we need to store the region that we want to display as a reference, which will change depending on the button of the region clicked by the user. Also, we have to store the count that we will get from the API dictionary. That is why we need variables, since these values may change depending on conditions or on information passed to the program. Then, when the user clicks the button for a certain region, in this case Europe, we need to change the region variable and call the set of instructions that will help us build the API, which is the purple build operation block. We can also set the font size and the background image for the layout, where we will show the count and zoom into that region in our map. Talking about procedures, they enable programmers to break down a problem into smaller chunks, each of which performs a particular task. In the first procedure, we will initialize a local variable, a variable that only lives within the procedure. Here, we will store the root for the API and join it with the region we retrieved from the press button. Then, we will call the next procedure, passing some values, so we can use them within the next procedure, which are the web component, the invisible one from the design screen, and the operation. Then we have the call API procedure, where we will set the component URL using the set web block from the any component section, which allows us to select the web component and the URL. Thus, to build a complete URL previously shown, we will use the build URL IUCN procedure, passing it the operation from the first procedure, so that then we will get the information from the web component. Finally, in the build URL procedure, we will just be joining the different sections that make up the complete URL. 2 local variables will be used for the parts that won't change between APIs, which are the token and the prefix. Then, for the result, we will join all the sections in order: the prefix, the operation, already with the region, and the token or API key. To build our API URL, we use procedures on App Inventor rather than providing the web component a different link for each region, because using procedures will allow us to use different APIs in one screen. Just calling the same procedures and copy-pasting the build operation block, just with a different IUCN up operation and using another web component. After building the URL, calling the API, and using the get block, all we have to do is to store the JSON text, which is the API response, converted into a dictionary. To do that, we will use the got.text block, where we will set the region count to the value stored in the count key for the dictionary that we got from the response content. Finally, the count value for the region will be shown in the interface using a label. To sum up, we encourage you to use APIs on your Technovation app, since nowadays, APIs are vital tools for businesses in all industries, as they allow the capabilities of one computer program to be used by another. In addition, they can make your app non-static, as each time the API is updated, your application will also have the most recent information displayed. We hope this tutorial was useful and that you'll learn a little bit more about APIs. Thank you!